Thank you very much, my brother, Reverend Silas Owiti, and the leadership of Christ Center, and all the people who've come today to have this conversation. Good evening. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Kenya oye. Kahawa sukari oye. KU oye. Nawaona sana. I want to confirm that we've been friends with Silas. There's some echo. I think there is another mic that is on. Okay. All right. I have known Silas since my campus years from KU. And not just Reverend Silas, but also his brother, Martin Luther. We were actually year mates with Martin Luther, and Silas, I think, was ahead of us by 1 year. And I also want to confirm, Reverend Silas are those kind of comrades, you could tell they are headed to the pulpit. You know, sisi bado tulikuwa mchezo kidogo ya siasa, ya biashara, lakini Reverend Silas walikuwa wale watu too straight to be a comrade. And I could tell you'd be where you are. I mean, it was so evident. Kwa sababu ukienda CU, sisi tukiwa pale backbencher, wale wako hapa na mic ni akina Silas. Tukipata wageni wa preaching, wenye wana welcome ni akina Reverend Silas. And also the brother followed suit, but the brother was also a politician. And he actually was also elected in the student leadership in KU. I am a member of parliament for Kiharu, as you know. And before we get to the money issues that brought me here, allow me to appreciate that I am very grateful to be serving the people of Kenya in that capacity. And just two highlights. Majority of you here have some relationship with KU and other institutions of higher learning around. And education is a very primary tool in transforming society, not just socially, but also economically. And I say that because most of what I do as a leader is geared towards making quality education accessible to as many people as possible. And that is why in Kiharu, from our first term, Kiharu is a very large constituency and is also very near Nairobi. Because from here, ukitoka hapa saa hii, 45 minutes utakuwa Murang'a. Even yesterday, jioni nilikuwa Murang'a. Between there and here, we took less than 45 minutes. And the point I'm trying to drive home is that it's a large constituency, though it's a rural constituency, to a large extent. So we have around 112 public primary schools. And all of them, without exception, all public primary schools in Kiharu, watoto huwa wanakanyaga tiles chini. Tiles. I know some of you are Bontao, so you are wondering, oh, so tiles what now? But ask Cyrus and some of us what the rural schools look like or used to look like. Secondly, we have a program called Kiharu Masomo Bora, which I'm very proud of. Very, very proud of. And we have 65-day secondary schools in Kiharu. And out of those 65-day secondary schools, we have around 12,000 learners in them in the senior secondary. And the school fees in Kiharu for all the scholars, whether you are from Kiharu or otherwise, just as far as you attend school there, school fees is only 500 shillings per term. The rest we handle using Kiharu and GCDF and the program itself, including some people who found the program and they came to support us. And they learn us eat in school from Monday to Saturday. Bila kulipa extra money. And the last Friday of the month in Kiharu, they actually eat chapati over lunch. And I'm not talking about ile ya kupikwa na machine. Unajua sisi wanasiasa za ingine lazima tuna clarify. This is a program that has been ongoing for an entire of this year, and I am glad that all the UGA we have been using this year tumepewa na mtu for the entire year. And the coordinator for that program ni huyu jamaa ako hapa anaitwa Richard. Who was also in KU and did economics. And as you all know, kama comrades wa KU, ni kama SI unit. That ukitoka KU, unakula matoto ya KM, ukisha graduate, unakaa Wedani. So, actually what happened, nyumba nilikuwa nakaa hapa Wedani karibu na ACK, without knowing, Richard also akaenda the exact house akakaa huko. So nyinyi watu wa KU mkigraduate, jaribuni munaenda nje kiasi bana. Nani nawaambia tu lazima ukae Wedani. Lakini nakaaga ndio part of orientation. Now, I want to go to the topic of today. And I have requested, Reverend, that we also try to maximize time for interaction in terms of Q&A. And we'll also have a short interview with the Reverend Silas. So I'll go to the issues. There are others that we may cover during the interview. Interview will be more of the soft side. So I'll go to the real issues now. And I've segmented this discussion into exactly how you requested me in terms of the title: financial stewardship, entrepreneurship, and building sustainable wealth. The beauty about that topic is that when I get stressed, you know, ukiwa siasa unafanya kazi saa ingine, you have to overdo in terms of, it's not as straightforward as doing business. So, mimi nikipata stress, I know most of you read novels. Ama unafanya mambo ingine ya hobbies. Mimi my hobby, nikishika Forbes magazine, stress huwa inaenda chini. Ama Fortune magazine. Or anything around money. But you also look very close to that also, by the look of your foreheads. And by the look of your eyes. And by the look of how eager I see you are in this topic on money. So, and as I start with financial stewardship, I want to give some reflections. One, as a leader. Two, as a businessman. But also number three, as a Christian. Because those three things are also very close to my heart, and especially the last one. Whatever we may do out there as leaders, as business people, so that tuelewane tukienda mbele na hii topic, I am one of the person who knows that Ndindi Nyoro is nothing without the blessings of God. So when I reference many things around there, it is because it's what I believe in and I have witnessed. So when we talk about financial stewardship, the number one issue for me as a leader is that financial stewardship, so money, resources, wealth, one question is, how and from where? How do we make money? From where? And I believe that vile Biblia inasema saa ingine kuna pesa unaweza tafuta, lakini inakuja na mabawa. Wewe unatafuta, inaenda. I have seen firsthand that there is very deep joy in making so much money, but also making it the right way. Because whatever money you may make, which you cannot sleep at night because of how you got it, then I don't think it was worth it even going through that process. So that issue is important as we think about money. How do we get money? Is it by changing the world to be a better place? Or is it by having us reflect as the people who should actually not be existing around other people? So that's one question. Second thing, there is something I've been thinking about, really, and I was reflecting this with another friend of mine. And I'm saying that because you guys are future leaders also, and some are current leaders. So you find that when it comes to the management of a country, people are so obsessed in making money. And making money is not a bad thing. That's why we're actually talking about it today. But we become so obsessed that there is a very thin line between being a public officer and also promoting your business using the same power that you've got bestowed unto you by the people. And then I want us to ask ourselves this question. You are elected as a member of parliament, as a governor, even a bigger position. So your preoccupation becomes looking for money at any cost. And by the time you are elected as an MP, or even that higher position, you already have money. Maybe that's the reason why you actually ventured into it, because it's an expensive venture to a large extent. So you already have money to live off, to be comfortable. So let's reflect. What is it that, or why is it that when people get positions of leadership in public office, the preoccupation becomes looking for as much money as possible and breaking the record of the person you replaced, and in terms of making money? Why is it so? And I think the bigger problem is about inheritance. We do it because, yes, we have enough, but we are possessed with some fear within us, the leadership especially, that you ought also to make money for those who are after you, and especially in kin selection, family members. So you are actually not looking for money for you to spend. You are actually looking for money by then for your heirs to also live off and supposedly live a comfortable life. But is that usually the case? That's the reflection I want us to have. So that as you venture into leadership, there is no better way of judging the future but by the past. Let's evaluate, how has the past been? Who told you that you make money so that we bequeath? You make money by especially taking public resources so that we bequeath, or you bequeath to those who come after you. I mean, what is the reasoning? Are you confirming to the world that your heirs, your offsprings, are not as intelligent as you, that they can actually make more than you? And let us reflect, all of us in this hall, those who are working. And I can attest, especially kama we sio mwanafunzi, wenye wanafanya kazi na biashara, most of us are doing better than our fathers. Most of us are doing better than our mothers, economically speaking, financially speaking. It means, for example, my father was a carpenter, living in Kiadutu slums in Thika. Now, even before I ventured into politics, in terms of whatever you owned, most of us, your net worth was already higher than your father's net worth. So it means you have actually surpassed your father. But your father was in a situation where he could not even be obsessed to look for wealth because there was no means to do that. So the point I'm driving home is that we must have a generation, all of us, that believes that the next generation may actually do better than us. So we don't need to steal for them because they'll have more of their own. Let's go back to the Bible. And I can't purport to preach when Reverend is here, because I don't want to embarrass myself. But because we are Christians here, and we are people who also read the Bible, look at the Old Testament, because when you read the Old Testament, and I've read the whole Bible myself, not once. When you read the Old Testament, you realize one thing. Part of what is called blessings is actually wealth. From Abraham, coming all the way, anywhere the name or the word blessing would appear, it actually also meant ng'ombe mingi, kondoo mingi, shamba kubwa. That time was the measure of wealth. So it's not bad to look for wealth, because many times it's actually quintessential to blessings. But let's us zoom in to the people we read, our fathers in the Old Testament. And I'll cite two to represent all others. So we read about Jacob. Jacob was whose son? Yani, Ati? Isaac. Ebu, kwa sababu mmesoma what I'm just about to say, I just want us to reflect. Was Jacob a rich man afterwards? He was a very rich man. Si mnakumbuka ile story yake na kuoa na Laban, his father-in-law. You remember that story? And as that gets me thinking, sisi wanaume wa siku hizi ni kama hata hatuumii sana tukioa. Wale walikuwa naumia mbaya. Yani unaambiwa to work for how many years? And then ukienda kumaliza unaambiwa aje. Jacob ultimately became wealthy. The father, yes, was wealthy. But the wealth we read about Jacob is not more about the inheritance, but much more about when you read a story where, yes, Laban alikuwa anataka kumpeleka hivi hivi, but the guy was praying. So there is a story about alikuwa analinda ng'ombe, let's say na mbuzi. Na wakaenda wakameka pact na Laban about ile itakuwa na kama hii shati yangu iko na maua, hiyo ndio ya Jacob. Si mnakumbuka hiyo maneno? Then because God was on it, what happened? It was practically impossible biologically kwa hizo ng'ombe ama the cattle for them to actually bear offsprings ambazo zilikuwa zinakaa hii shati yangu, because most of them zilikuwa za rangi moja. But because God was on it, he caused hizo tu the cattle ama hizo hao wanyama wa hiyo the same kind wakaanza to go against the biology that Laban was using kupeleka Jacob hivi hivi, na zile zilikuwa assigned kwa Jacob ndio zikaanza kuzaliwa na zikakuwa hata more. Kwani hamjasoma hiyo story? Usikae ati naongea kitu hamuelewi. Because still utakuwa unaniambiaje about Reverend Silas. So, can you just imagine that? Huyu ni mtu, the odds have been put against you totally. Yani, the odds are totally against you. Unauza shamba, lakini umewekwa pahali kwenye no one is interested in buying those shambas. But in that situation, you actually thrive more than the person with the highest advantage. So that's what happened. But this is the point. He never inherited. Purely what we read about, the genesis of his blessings was about God being in it and about his own lifetime and the wealth that he got himself, not the one he got from the father. Read about the story of Solomon. The father was equally very rich. Who was the father? He was very rich and wealthy. But look at the story you read. He got wisdom, knowledge, understanding from. If you go through, there is very little about what he inherited. It is about how he became so wealthy, but out of the blessings directed to him, not the ones he tapped from his father. Yes, there was a lineage, but if you look at Solomon and what we read, is about the money he made, not the money he was given by the father. So, I have been reflecting even about our own country. And I don't, because these are families, I will not name names. But try to look at the most prominent politicians who were here in Kenya, who held high positions and clearly took advantage of public resources. Some may actually write very good biographies and autobiographies, which is directed to you as a reader, but not exactly telling the truth. But try to reflect the ones you know. Yes, they accumulated, got so much. Oh, so that the family will live off it. And no one associated with them atapata shida. Some very big family names, in their second generation, they are already in poverty. Yet their fathers accumulated so much out of the public coffers. Some, even without naming names, have been presidents. We see their grandchildren fundraising on social media. What does that tell you? It tells you, do good when you are given a position, because it's not your business to take care of the people who come after you. The same way you get your own blessings, they will also have a direct link to God to get their own blessings. Yes, you can look for money and give inheritance. I'm not dissuading you from that. But it should not be at the expense of you taking money that was meant to build a hospital so that your kin can live off it. That's what I mean. Yes, tufanye kazi kwa bidii, but especially when we get an opportunity to serve in the public office, let's be good stewards of that money. There are two stories as I come to the conclusion of that subtopic. The Singapore we talk about has a neighbor not very far away called South Korea. Unashika? Niko sawa hata. Jana maji. Ati munasikia nchi gani? Hizo nchi mbili. Listen to this so that we see wherever you are serving, doing good to the country is not inadvertently, is consequently also doing good to yourself and the people who are totally associated with you who will come after you. This is what I mean. Kenya gets independence in the 1960s. South Korea starts the journey of economic development at the point where they are at the same level with Kenya. We are talking about 1960s. Now listen to this. A grandchild of Singapore, out of selfless leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, out of the selfless, dedicated leadership, which was totally devoid of patronage of taking public money for self-aggrandizement. Now, as I start before you, a Singaporean grandchild is 50 times richer than the grandparents. On average, let me repeat, a Singaporean grandchild is 50 times richer than the grandparent. I'm not talking about Lee Kuan Yew's grandchildren. I'm talking about all Singaporeans. Because their economy has gone up in terms of per capita income by 50 times. So a grandchild just being born in Singapore as a grandchild of somebody there, you are 50 times richer than your grandparent. How rich are you from your grandparent? So the point I'm trying for us to interact is this. Lee Kuan Yew did well for Singapore. If you go to Singapore, you'll not be shown farms and big tall buildings associated with him as a person. There is only one house which he owned where he lived, which maybe you can be taken to see. You'll not see many things that are associated to him or his family. But consequently, the